Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Makeover Monday Watch Me Viz for week 43, I believe it is. My name is Andy Kriebel. I am your host today. I will be taking you through the data set and showing you how I would visualize it differently than the original. If you have any questions along the way, please leave comments in the chat and I will monitor those and respond as best I can. Pardon for a bit of background noise. My washing machine is running, so it should be finished in just a minute, so I apologize for that background noise. But if you enjoy these sessions, please don't forget to like this video, leave me any comments you might find interesting, or any questions that you might have. Don't forget to click on subscribe and click that little notification button so that you don't miss any content that I produce. So every week we have Watch Me Viz and Viz Review held by Eva, where she reviews some visualizations from those that have participated in Makeover Monday. I also now run a weekly podcast called the Dual Axis Podcast. Those are typically on Wednesdays, sometimes on Thursdays, and those are also hosted on this YouTube channel as well as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast, you can listen to it there as well. I'd really appreciate your support. I'm just starting out. Any feedback you have would be great. It's something I really enjoy doing, and any support you can give me would be great and very much appreciated. I also post tips every week. I am working on this week's tip, which is going to be about how to compare current year, prior year, and current year budget. So hopefully I have that done today, maybe out to you tomorrow. So keep an eye on that, and don't forget to click on subscribe and turn on the notifications. So let's get to it. Let's go ahead and look at our data for Makeover Monday week. Let me just turn this on. Okay, so we're looking at Makeover Monday week 43. Actually, let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, week 44. Sorry about that. And yeah, so here we go. We are looking at political donations, or sorry, fundraising by political or members of Congress in the current members of Congress. So this does not include anything that are people that are running for membership in Congress or for Senate or the House of Representatives. It doesn't include them. It's only the current members in Congress. Some of them are going to be retiring. But the data is pretty simple. We have the member, which is pretty straightforward. You know, we can sort by member name if we want. It looks like it sorts by the last name. The state, the chamber, so the chamber would be either the House or the Senate, the amount that they've raised during the 2022 election cycle, how much they've spent, and then cash on hand. It's not necessarily the difference between the two, and then whatever debts they have. So for example, Richard Allen in Georgia, he's got 1.1 million in debt. That can't be particularly good, but he does have 889,000 on hand in cash. Okay. So we can also do some searching over here. So if you want to search for your postcode, so let's say 30101, that's my old postcode in Atlanta. It helps bring up information about that sector. And yeah, so actually this is something maybe we could put into the visualization, but it's just a way that you can then contact your representatives. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I've selected the data, and I do believe, by the way, that I think I need to be off by 9. So let me actually just double check that. So just bear with me for 1 second. I just need to turn my screen off and check my calendar. So typically I go more than an hour, but I think today I need to go. No, I'm okay. No problem at all. All right. So let me bring Tableau back up and turn on my screen share again. And yeah, there we go. Okay. So really simple data set. We've got the member, their name, the party, the state, the chamber, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to a new sheet, and let's start by just looking at maybe the member of Congress. Okay, so we see here spent, raised, and debts are all text. So those actually should be numbers. If I look back over at the original data, we can see they're all just rounded numbers. So let's go ahead and change so if I select all three of these, I should be able to change the data type for all of those at the same time. I'm going to make them a whole number. And now I also need those to be measures. So I'm just going to drag those down there. Okay, so we've got each of the members. These look like they're really squished for some reason. So let's start by maybe bringing in the amount that they raised, and we can maybe sort that in descending order. And I'm going to put let's see, let's put the party onto color. And I do think, oh, look at that. It's actually picked up colors automatically for us. Maybe it's just coincidence, but that's pretty cool that it did. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but yeah, I'll take it. If we want to then maybe compare the amount raised to, let's say, the amount spent, we can do this a couple different ways. I'm going to start by putting spent onto the details shelf, and let's bring it on as a reference line for each cell. So each cell means each bar. And I want to put the amount spent here. Maybe I'll make it black, maybe a bit thicker. Turn off the recalculate. Let me choose the color here. Okay, it doesn't look like, it doesn't want to change the color for some reason. Wonderful. Right, okay, so it looks like we've found a bit of a bug here. There we go. Okay, so let's make it a bit thicker. And now we can see the difference between the two. So if we want to look at, for example, let's just call this sheet raised versus spent. Very simple. I'm going to duplicate this sheet, and this time I want to compare the length of the bar to the reference line. So have they raised more than they've spent? So I'm going to create a new calculated field, raised more than spent. And it's going to simply be the sum of raised is greater than the sum of spent. Click on OK, and let's put that on color this time. And now we can see almost everybody has raised more than they've spent. So we've got the falses. So let's maybe make this, I'm going to go with true. I'm going to make green because green, you know, I'm just sort of associating it with money. Let's make the falses, let's maybe make those, let's pick maybe a dark color. Let's make the falses maybe a dark color. And then the nulls, I'll just make those, maybe I shouldn't use blue. So maybe I'll use something like a purple or something like that. And the reason that we have some nulls is probably, there must be somebody in here. Maybe not. Okay, there must be somebody in there that, that maybe it's equal or there's a null or something like that. Okay, so now this is comparing let's call this raised more than spent. Okay, let's duplicate this again. I'm going to just duplicate again, and I'm going to take off my reference lines. And let's maybe look at, I'm just going to drag spent on top of the axis for raised. And now we get bars that are side by side. I'm just going to take that off color. And I'm going to now move my measure names to my color shelf. And we get one bar stacked on top of the other, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. So another way that we could look at this is maybe one bar inside of the other bar. So I'm going to put first off, I'm going to turn off my stack marks by going up to analysis on the menu, stack marks, and then off. And now you can see they're just piled on top of each other. And let's take measure names and also put it on size. And we can now see that the raised is inside the spent. So just another way to look at it, not actually all that easy to look at, I don't think. So I'm going to duplicate that again. Let's take measure names off. And I'm going to change my mark type to a circle. And now you can see we can maybe build like a barbell chart. So let's maybe take measure, let's see, I need to duplicate measure values. On the second measure value shelf, I'm going to make it a line. And you can see Tableau is connecting it down the view, but I want it to connect across the view. And the field that defines whether we go across the view or not is the measure names field. So I'm going to drag measure names to the path shelf. And now you can see we've got this sort of connection between the two. Now I'm going to make it a dual axis. And I'm going to synchronize. And I want the gray lines to be in the back. So I'm going to right click on my top axis and move the marks to the back. All right, so now we've got a simple bar chart, a barbell chart. And I'm just going to keep building a bunch of different views just to see maybe some other options. So let's duplicate this sheet. And I don't know what this one's called. You may have seen me build it before, but I'd like to call it maybe like a peas in the pod or something like that. So I'm just going to take this line, my line shelf, and I'm just going to increase the size of those. And I want to make it so that they go around the dots. So let me just bring it down ever so slightly. There we go. And then on my color shelf, I'm going to maybe add a white border so they stand out a bit. And maybe I'll change the color of this to maybe something like a lighter gray. And there we go. Now what I could do is on this measure values shelf, I could maybe put my raised more than spent on color. And that then gives us a little bit more information. So we could see the green means they raised more than they spent. So basically the blue dot is to the right of the orange dot. Okay, another interesting view. Requires some cleanup, some formatting, maybe some color changes, but I'm not going to worry about that yet because I don't know if it's something that I'm actually going to use in my visualization. So in the, let's call this one, I don't know what to call it. I just always call it peas in a pod because it looks like peas in a pod. One thing I could do here though is I could maybe allow the user to sort by sort by raised or by spent. So I'm going to create a new parameter and I'm going to call this one sort by. And let's make it a string. And I'm going to create a list. So the first option is going to be raised. The second option is spent. And then maybe I'll add a third option in here for debts, just in case we want to use it later on. If I spelled it right, it would help. And click on OK. So I'm going to show that parameter. And I'm going to create a calculated field to actually use that parameter. I'm going to call this sort by. I'm going to use a case statement. And I like using a case statement with string parameters. I just find them a bit easier to use for me. So when you use a case statement, you want to first start with the parameter that you want to evaluate. So I'm going to call this my sort by. And I'm going to say when the option is raised, you have to make sure you type this exactly as you typed it into the parameter. Even the capitalization and everything has to match. Now I have done another video on this if you're interested in learning the difference between case statements and if statements. I have done a video on these before. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description, but if you just look on my Tableau tips playlist or it's within the last 20 or 30 tips, you'll see if then versus case, a video on that. So when it's raised, I want to bring back the raised. Oops, I forgot. Then when it is spent, then we want to bring back spent. Otherwise, we want to bring back debts. And click on OK. And my members field now on my rows, I'm going to choose sort. And down here in the field name, I'm going to choose, let's see, my field I'm going to choose here is sort by. So my sort by field. And click on OK. And now if I change, I'm just going to make it this parameter single value list. If I change it to spent and then debts, the debts doesn't really make a lot of sense because of it's not in the view, but you can see how it swaps around depending on if it's spent or raised. Okay, so that's that view. We could do the same thing on this one. If we want to change the sort by here, we could make it by the parameter. And now you can see it switching around. Let me just show the parameter again. If I change this to raised, you'll see it switches to raised and then debts. There we go. Okay. And you could continue to do that through these other charts if that's something that you think is useful for your chart. Okay, so we have each member. What else could we build here? We've compared the bars. I want to look at maybe kind of like a unit chart. I don't know if it'll really be a unit chart, but I'm just going to drag the member onto the detail shelf. And you'll see I get a mark for each representative. I'm going to put the party onto color. And we can see now we have all the parties, Democrat, Republican. If I bring maybe, I'm going to bring the sort by field because I want to use, I'll show you what we're going to do here. The sort by field will allow me to change the value that's in the view. So I'm going to put the sort by onto size, and we get a tree map, which doesn't look particularly great. You'll see it swaps around if we do different things. It doesn't look all that great. I have seen LM7 on Twitter. He made this, if you change it to a circle, you get a packed bubbles. And if you swap these around, you can see it changes the view. If you reorder the marks card, you can see it reorders the way that the dots are drawn. So again, not particularly useful. Looks pretty cool, and I like the interactivity of it, but not quite what I'm looking for. So I think, let's see, is there a way for me to maybe just do it as, yeah, so that doesn't work. Okay. I was just wondering if there's another way that I could, yeah, let's just leave it as the packed bubbles for now. It doesn't look particularly great, but you know, it's kind of neat, I think. So raised, spent. What I could do is, I wonder if I can sort the members. I don't know how sorting works on packed bubbles, but just let me try it. I'm going to try field, descending, sort by. Okay. Now, I don't know which party actually raised more, so let's bring party and raised. So we can see the Democratic Party is raised more than the Republicans. So when we sort, it's putting so if I swap these around, let me try this. If I move them around, you can see we get the biggest spenders are in the middle right now, and then it gets fewer and fewer as you go out. If I rearrange these so that party is at the top, you'll see we've got the blue and then red because that's the way the parties are sorted first. And then within each of the colors, it's ordering them by the member that has spent the most. So we could choose it to switch it to raised, debts, things like that. All right, let's see. So this is our packed bubbles. I think that looks kind of neat, actually. You probably won't see me publish this because I think I would be a hypocrite for doing that, considering I criticize them quite a bit. All right, so we have a state field. I'm just going to double click on state. I get nulls because my location, my default location is set up as the UK. So I'm going to click on edit locations and change my country to USA. And click on OK. And we get a couple outliers. So we've got Guam, American Samoa, and Hawaii, and Alaska. Okay, so let's put maybe our sort by onto size. And we can see where the largest, I'm just going to zoom into the continental US for now. Okay, so we could maybe increase the size of these a bit. That makes them too big. Yeah, so we've got the amount. What are we looking at now? Show the parameter, make it a single value list. So that's the amount raised, the amount spent. So this is right now telling us, so let me just change the color of this to maybe, I don't know, let's maybe make it just a gray or a black or something, because I don't want it to be associated with a party, because right now this is showing you how much has been raised in each state overall. So kind of, it's almost probably like a proxy for which races are the most competitive, I bet. So we've got Maryland here, they've raised 13 million. Let me turn that off. Georgia, 3.3 million. Oh, sorry, that's the debts. If I look at spent or raised and spent look like they're pretty much the same, but we can see where maybe the most hotly contested races are, perhaps. I'm not exactly sure. That's kind of making a leap. So this is, I'll call this a bubble map. And I'm going to now duplicate that. And one thing we could do is if I change my mark type to maybe a pie, and let's put, if I put the party onto the angle, okay, that doesn't work because the angle has to be a measure. So let's put the sort by on the angle, and then if we split it by party, does that do it? So this tells us within each within each state which parties have raised the most money. So actually spent the most money. So for example, if I look down here at Georgia, what is it? Control-Alt-A. If I look down here at Georgia, hopefully you can see my mouse. We have, it looks like Democrats have spent a heck of a lot more than Republicans. If I switch it to raised, you can see it doesn't change that much. Debts, it's almost, the Republicans have almost all of the debt in Georgia. Okay, so I'm going to call that pies on a map. It's actually probably a decent use case for pies on a map. But maybe another view we could do, if we want to stick with a map view, we could do maybe a tile map. So I'm going to bring in another data source. So I'm going to go back to my data source tab. I'm going to add a spatial file. And again, I would try to remember to link to this in the description. It's a blog by Joshua Milligan, who has created this shape file for us. So I'm pretty sure, let me see, my drive. I got to try to remember where I put it. So I'm bringing in a spatial file. And of course, it's going to load slowly because we're watching it. States and counties, boom. I don't know what that is. So let's see, data sources. I should have one called like maybe US states or something like that. States and counties, boom. US drought monitor. Okay, maybe I don't have it. I don't know what this one does. Oh, this is, okay, that's something a bit different. So I think I need to go to data school, data sources. I should probably have this a bit better organized. Actually, yeah, that's fine. US states, states.shape. And when I bring this in, I'm going to just go ahead and join them together, hopefully. And in my, I want to choose the, where is it here? My state. And it's going to go to my state name. So state name. And now everything matches up nice and neat. So what I can do now, I don't need this field, so I'm going to hide that. I don't need state name twice, so I'm going to hide that. I'm going to just double click on geometry, and you can see that is not what I was looking for. Okay, so I grabbed the wrong file. So I'm just going to undo. Okay, so I added the wrong file. So spatial file, I think it's called. So undo is probably my favorite feature in Tableau. All right, so I want to go to, I don't think I have it here. No, so let's go to data sources, and I think it's called hex states. And I've used this data set in several Watch Me Viz sessions. Okay, so there we go. So now if I bring that one in, that should be better. We want to join state to state. Okay, that looks good. And let's go to our new view. Now if I don't need that, so let's hide that. I'm going to double click on geometry, and you see now I get a hex map of the US. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my background layers. So I wish you could pick none there. That would be really nice. So I'm just going to do that. And right now, if you look on the very bottom left of my screen, you'll see that there's only one row and one column. Actually, why is it not? Let me try it this way. There we go. There's only one mark in the view. So when I hover over, notice they're all highlighted. That's because I haven't told Tableau how to split the view up yet. So I'm just going to put state abbreviation maybe onto the label. And now I get all of them. And what I think I'm going to do here is, how can I do this? I'm going to create a, let's see. I want to compare the Republicans and the Democrats. So if I put the, let's see, I'm just going to put the party onto detail. And if I put the let's put the sort by onto color. Now what I want to do is I want to compare the Democrats to the Republicans. So I'm going to add a table calculation. It's going to be difference from. Actually, I'll make it percent difference from. I think that has a bit better context. I want to do it for each state, and I want to compare parties. So let's say I want to be relative to the Democrats. So this tells me, let's see, so that, let me try that again. Hit a table calc. Let's make it relative to the Republicans. Okay, there we go. So this is basically, I'm trying to, the 3,000% difference. So that must be where there's no spending by the Republican. Okay, so this view doesn't work, so I'm going to take that off. What I was hoping to do was to have one hex map inside of the other so that, so let me see here. So if let's create a new calculated field. Let's call this one Republican. And I'm going to say if party equals Republican, then I want to bring back my sort by and okay. And if I put that onto color, so this is now going to show me just the spending for the Republicans. I'm going to now duplicate that. And I'm going to make this one, is it called Democrat or Democratic? Democratic, okay. So let's edit this and let's call this Democratic. I think my D key is messed up on my keyboard. Okay, so, and I'm just going to put that on color just to see if it works. Okay, great. So I'm going to change the colors for my Democratic to be a blue. Yeah, so we want to go blue colors for the Democrats. And then if I put the Republicans back on there, I'm going to use a red color for them. All right, so red and click on OK. So what I want to do now is I want to compare the spending. So I'm going to drag the geometry onto the map again and add a marks layer. So on this second layer, so you see I've got two hex shapes now. I'm going to put Democratic on here. Now they're on top of each other, so I need to swap this out a bit. So why did that one change? Okay, so let's see, Republican, we need to have state on detail and Republican on color. Okay, so now we should have two colors, but I want one to be bigger than the other. So I need to change my view because I think okay, so Republicans are in front of the Democrats. So if I change the size on this, it doesn't change the shapes at all. So you see everything stays the same size. So I need to change my mark type to a shape. And I'm going to click on my shape shelf, more shapes. And I want to use that. And what does my hexagon look like? Okay, that kind of hexagon. And let's maybe make those bigger. Right. So now we can see the spending for the Republicans versus the Democrats. Well, let's show the parameter. So, oh, sorry, this is debts. If I change it to raised, we can see the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats, etc. Okay. So let's see. On this one, I'm going to maybe reduce the size just a bit. There we go. So now I can see the Democratic ones a bit better. So Jen Chapman, till you can sort by in a calculated field. I don't quite understand what that means. I think you meant you didn't know you could sort by a calculated field. Maybe that's what you meant. Anyway, okay. Hello, Michael. It's nice to hear from you. All right, so we've got these different options here. What might be good is if the color legends had the same range, but that's not particularly easy. So I think I'll just leave it like this for now. I'm going to change the mark outline for this one, the border. I'm going to make it white just so they stand out a bit more, maybe a slightly less white. Oh, today I learned. Okay, thanks, Jen. Because till to me means the information lab where I work. So That's what confused me, I guess. All right, so this is now looking at, so if I change the title for this, we're now looking at, I'm going to call this money. I'm going to insert the parameter by state. Just going to keep it a real simple title right now. And as I change the parameter, my title will change. So money debts doesn't really make a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm actually going to get rid of debts in my parameter. So let's get rid of debts, remove. And yeah, I'm just going to look at raised and spent, I think. But it doesn't change much, which is a bit annoying. Okay, so what else could we do here? Right, so this is our hex map. Ideally, I'd like to compare the Republican and the Democrat. So let's do the hex map again. And I'm just going to put that on detail. Copy formatting, paste formatting. Oh, that didn't work. I thought that would fix my background layers as well. All right, so we've got that. Now I do have my, where is it here? Republican on detail, Democrat on detail. And let's now see if I can look at the difference. My D key doesn't want to work on my keyboard. All right, so let's say we want to do the sum of the Republican minus the sum of the Democrat. And let's drag that onto color. And now we can see the difference between them. So if the Republican is bigger, that means it's a positive value. So I want to change this color legend to be red to blue, but reversed. And I want to force the center to be 0. Okay. Right, so now if I show my parameter and single value list, I could look at those. Okay, it doesn't really change a whole lot, does it? So the difference is 4 million spent. Okay, so now this one, there's no difference because there must be only, okay, so let's look at New Hampshire here. Let's look at state. I'm just going to filter down to New Hampshire just so we can see what it's doing. So in New Hampshire, there's no spending. There's nothing by the Republicans, so that's why it's null. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so this one is going to be raised versus, no, let's see. R versus D hex map. So in this title, I would probably say something like who, and then my parameter, more. Right, all right, so something like that. Oops, who spent more, who raised more. So you see, again, the doesn't really change a whole lot, though, which is okay. That's fine. All right. Can the same technique be used even if we have numbers ranging from negative to positive? I'm not sure which technique you're referring to. Abhilash? Not quite sure. And Kush, can we create a fancy table with difference? I don't know what you mean by fancy table. If I'm going to create a table, I would just put, let's see, probably state and the member and the raised and the spent. Let's see, spent. I would probably just do something like that. I'm not sure what more needs to be in there. I'm not quite sure what you mean by fancy table. Okay, so what else could we do? Let's see, maybe we could do something like, okay, thanks, John. You have a nice week as well. Let's maybe see if we can do, I'm going to do a slope graph. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to put Republic on my rows and make it a shared axis and a line. Okay, and then I'm going to put state onto, let's put state onto detail. And now we have a line for each state. And if the line, let me show my parameter again. So right now we're looking at who spent more. So what did I call that? spent more, raised more than spent difference. Okay, let's put that on color. And if I, so difference, Democrat, Republican. Okay, so I probably should set the default color for this field so I don't have to keep changing it. What were we looking at? Blue. Here we go. I need to reverse that. That's okay. Advanced. We want the center at 0. All right. So if the line goes up to the right, that means the Republican spent more. If it goes down to the right, that means the Democrat spent more. Okay. Not particularly interesting. Let's look at maybe the chamber. So let's show a filter for the chamber. And if I just look at Senate races, yeah, so there's the reason there's so few at the Senate is because not all of the Senate, they get elected they have to run every 6 years. So every 2 years, a third of the chamber, so 33 of the 100 go up for re-election. So yeah, you don't see very many here. Okay, but the House, they're all up every 2 years, so it's a bit different. Okay, so spent, raised. Okay, so this didn't do a whole lot either, but let's call this slope graph. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now look at my, I tweeted about this the other day. So if you look at my Twitter timeline, I posted a list of the 6 chart choosers that I use. So I'm going to actually choose, I'm going to try this one today. And just look for different ideas on some of the different chart types I could choose. Now I could maybe do a scatter plot. All right, let's try that. So again, this is really useful because I could just scan this list and think, maybe I can build something with that. So let's look at raised versus spent by member. All right, and okay. So yeah, it's a pretty strong correlation. Now what I want to do is I want to know who is above and who is below. So if I do raised more than spent on color, my colors are pretty terrible for this. Let me switch to some of my Makeover Monday colors. Let's say we want to have the falses are gray, and then the trues are maybe like an orange, something like that. And let's make these circles. So one of the things I like to do in this type of view is I like to have like a 45-degree line so that this is perfectly square. So what I'm going to do, hopefully you find this interesting, I'm going to duplicate the raised field up to the columns. And on this field, I'm going to actually, I'm going to make this, doesn't really matter which mark type I use. I'm just going to shrink it all the way down. So we get something like that, and let's shrink the color all the way down. So it looks like there's nothing there right now. But if I put on a trend line on, let's see, the combination of, let's see, no, I need to make it a dual axis first. And then I need to synchronize. Okay, I'm gonna go to my all marks card and remove measure names. And now notice both the scales are the same. They both go to 90, where before they didn't. So if I take raised back off, you'll see the one on the left goes to 90, the one on the bottom goes to 80. So let me put that back on. And what I can do now is on my, let's see, trend line, I want to bring on a trend line for my raised. And you see I now get a perfect 45-degree angle across the view. So I'm going to edit my trend line, or format my trend line. I'm going to format trend line. Okay. I'm going to make it a bit thinner, and maybe I'll just make it black. See, why is the color not changing? How annoying is that? What the heck is going on here? Format. What the heck? Right, so looks like the new version of Tableau is buggy because this is super annoying that I can't change the color. So I'm going to, maybe I could try it this way. Edit trend lines. Let's try this. But that doesn't allow me trend line per color. Oh, maybe I need to get rid of that. Show recalculate, no. Show tooltip, no. And click on OK. Oh, there we go. Okay, so My apologies. So it was trying to create a trend line for each color. So one orange one and one gray one. So that's my mistake. Okay, so we have something like that. And what I might do here, so now it's easier to see kind of who's above and below. So let me just bring this up here a bit. Maybe it's not, but let me reduce the opacity, increase the size a bit maybe. But anyway, so I'd like the 45-degree line there because it makes it easier for me to see who is above and below. Doesn't really work very well, I don't think. Doesn't tell me a whole heck of a lot because pretty much looks like pretty much everybody spends about the same as they raised. So let's go look at a couple more chart types. Okay. A tape diagram, never heard of that. Let's see. Bullet chart, we've kind of done that with the very initial one we've done. Okay, so let's go to maybe a different chart choice. And we're looking at comparisons here. So I'm going to go to chart type, comparisons. So we could do something like a floating bar. That's not going to really be very different than one of these, but let me show you how to do it anyway. So let's duplicate this, and I want to take the, let's see, I'm just going to take, I only need one of these on here. So, all right, so we're going to look at raised, and I'm going to make that a Gantt bar, and then I'm going to put the difference onto size. That didn't work, did it? Maybe I need to have, what's the difference here? The difference is, oh, okay, so the difference is Republican versus Democrat. So, let's see. So let me create another calculated field, raised versus spent. Oops. So sum of raised, actually I want to do, raised minus the sum of spent. So it's just going to give me the range. And if I put that onto size, you'll see I now get these floating bars, but I think these are backwards. So if I put them, let me put spent onto detail. So this one, you'll see the mark goes up to about 99,000. So this bar is going the wrong direction. So I'm going to just highlight both of these fields. So if you highlight both of those and right click, I can swap them. And now it looks like everything goes the right direction. Okay, let's put maybe, if we put our raised more than spent onto color, you'll see most of them are going to be the same color. So this is these are called floating bars. And we could sort them by the difference maybe. So let's sort this by our field, what do we call it? Raised versus spent. Okay, so that doesn't look particularly good, does it? It just shows that Tim Scott has the biggest difference between raised and spent. That's not very useful, is it? So let's show our parameter. Let's see, let me switch that back. And if I now show my parameter, right now it's sorted by raised. If I change it to spent, what happened there? Sort. Oh, sort by. Change this to my sort by field. There we go. Raised, it's going to, so when I sort by raised, it's doing the right-hand side of the floating bar. When I make it spent, it's doing the left-hand side of the floating bar. All right, we could do, so that's our floating bar. We've done the dumbbell, scatter plot. Okay, so one more kind of neat chart type, and I learned this one from Ellen Blackburn in the data, let's see, at the information lab. So I'm just going to maybe do the raised by state. So I'm going to put, let's see, I'm going to put raised here. Oh, sorry, I'm going to put raised on the columns, and let's put spent as well. And now we get something like that. but I want to have a third one that is a kind of bar that shows the difference between the two. Now I already have my difference field, so I'm going to bring difference up here to, actually I want this to be spent again. And now on this one, let's make this a Gantt bar. And I'm going to put raised versus spent onto size. And now if I put this as a, I think I need to put this as a dual axis. I'm trying to remember exactly how to do this. No, that's not right. Raised, spent. I think if I take measure names off, that just overlays them. That's not what oh gosh, how do I do this? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this bar here underneath of the other two. But because if I put spent on here as well, sorry, not difference, no, raised, raised versus spent here as well, that doesn't give me what I'm looking for. Oh God, how do I do this again? I know I have a video for this. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's call this one. Oh God, I don't even know what to call this. I'm just going to search for Ellen because I know I gave her credit for it. Okay, so that's. Try floating maybe? No, that's not it. Well, I don't know. I don't remember how to create it. Okay, so let me go back to Tableau. Oh gosh, this is really annoying because I know we need to. Basically, I need this difference field to be. I need a third item here. I don't know. It looks really good in my head, but I can't remember how to do it. And I think it might have actually been a pretty useful view, but I can't. Oh gosh, let me just search my blog. Yeah, something like this, but I don't remember how I did it, which is kind of a problem. So what I could do here is data set. If I just download this workbook, and let me see how, this is the beauty of Tableau Public, is I can just download this and open it up. Now I can just kind of mimic what I did there. So let me go to this sheet. Okay, so we've got measure values. 2020, 2012. Those are bars. So let me show the header. 2020 revenue copy. Ah, okay. Right, so I need to duplicate this field, and let's put that up here and make it a dual axis. Okay, there we go. So this one is going to be a bar, and then you see this one's a Gantt bar. I'm going to make it thinner, and now I can maybe color code that by whether it was raised more than spent, something like that. But these two fields, raised, spent, detail. Okay. All right, I could take this out of the tooltip. All right, so let's maybe look at the colors here. So let's figure out a nicer color palette. Let's maybe look at the Information Lab colors. Let's say we want raised to be black, spent to be the light blue. I don't know if these are going to be contrasting enough. That's not contrasting enough. Let's maybe use one of the data school blues. All right, so we've got raised and spent, and then the difference is either true or false. So let's make this, so raised more than spent. I'm just going to make that true. Let's try it like that. And then I would hide the header. And now I can see, so if I look back over at this other version, I can make it look something like this. So let me hit undo here and go back to the view. And I could put raised versus spent. So difference, so let's duplicate this and then edit. I'm going to make this 1% difference. And it's going to be, oh no, this is the wrong one. Duplicate. And let's format that as a percentage. Let's try with 0 decimals. I want to put a plus sign at the start in front of my positives, a minus sign in front of my negatives, and then just maybe a dash, or maybe just 0% for when it's 0. So I'm going to take this, put it onto the label, and I want to make sure I only label the right-hand side. So all, okay, yeah, so that should be okay. And now we can see label, let's have this match the mark color, maybe make it Tableau medium, maybe 10 point, something like that. And now we can see the difference. So they spent out in Alabama, 14% more has been spent than or raised than spent. Okay, so something like that. And we could again maybe sort our states by, let's maybe sort it by our sort by field. There we go. Oops, did I switch it? Oops. Sort descending. There we go. And now if I show my parameter, probably again, not much is going to change. But yeah, okay, and something is not quite right here, so we need to synchronize. There we go. Okay, not sure what you think of that one. I kind of like that. So we've got, okay, so let's see. So I don't like that. I don't like that. That. Packed bubbles. We don't want pies. Hex map. So this is showing me, actually, let's make this percent difference as well. Right, so, oh no, this is Democrat versus Republican. Okay, so let me rename this one. And I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm gonna make this one a percentage as well. Sometimes the percentages give me a bit better context. Because I can just wrap my head around them a bit better. So, you know, like a 4% change is easier for me to think about than, yeah, anyway. So let's default properties, color. We want to be red, blue, reversed, advanced, center at 0. Okay, so the 0.99% difference. Yeah, so this is getting kind of thrown off because you see how large the values are. Okay, so that actually doesn't work in this case. So let's just do the difference. Okay, so we can see the difference. Democrats, can the bars with 3 measures be rounded, or will that be too complex? So to do the rounded bars, Michael, I don't think it would look very good, so I probably wouldn't do that because when you do a rounded bar, the outside of the rounded part isn't actually where the data point is. So it would be, so where's our, the peas in a pod, for example. You'll see the left-hand side of the red is to the left of the circle, which means it makes it look like it's a lower value than it really is. So I probably would avoid that. Okay. I think maybe what I should do in this true and false, I'm going to actually make this match. So when it's true, I want it to be black. And when it's false, I want it to match the, where's my data school color palette? Where'd it go? Data school. I want it to match, I think it's that one, maybe. No, I think I've got that backwards. Yeah, so I've got these backwards. So false should be that. I think I have it backwards at least. Oh wait, no I don't. Do I? Yeah. And then the data school. Wait, what am I doing here? Raised more than spent. Raised more than spent. So true should be black, false should be blue. Okay, so the information lab. False would be raised more than, so true should be that. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now we can see the color of that bar matches whether it's above or below. So here you go, District of Columbia, something like that. Okay, so let's see, what else could we do here then? So now that we have this, we could maybe even add in some, we could add in a few more filters. I'm going to try to make this look a bit better. It's fine, it's probably okay. So let me format, what did I do in this one? So these are formatted in the middle. So I'm going to create a new calculated field. I'm just going to call this one state. And I'm just going to convert the state to uppercase. No particular reason. And we want to sort this by our field, sort by, and then descending. Okay, there we go. So we're back to the same view, and I'm going to format this and stick them in the middle. Okay, and what I could maybe do is if I go to this sheet, let me try copy formatting. I'm not sure if I can do this across workbooks or not, but let's try paste formatting. Okay, so it did some of it. It got rid of my grid lines and things like that. So let's format header there. Okay, and I'm going to make these a darker color. So maybe something like that. I'm going to hide the header for my field labels. And then I do have my Republican versus Democrat. Let's see, so I'm going to duplicate this, and this time I'm going to put my raised versus spent onto color. Okay, and what colors am I using? So my raised color is, okay, so let's set the center to 0. My upper end is going to be kind of my blackish color. And then my lower color is going to be my blue color, but I need to find that color. Okay, so let me grab the hex code for that. There we go. Copy. And if I go here to my, this one, oops, let's make this, let's paste that in. All right, let's set the center to 0. Maybe use full color range. Okay, so this doesn't really work, does it? Raised versus spent. Because pretty much everybody raised more than they spent. So, is that right? Raised versus spent. What am I looking at here? I'm just going to put these next to each other so I don't get confused. And what is this one called? This one is raised, the size is percent raised versus spent. Okay, so let's try that, percent raised versus spent. Okay, so, all right, so let's set our default colors. Advanced, center is going to be 0. And then we want to make this I'm just going to pick any diverging color palette, it doesn't really matter. And then paste. Okay. And then this one is going to be just black. Oh, wrong one. I always get them backwards. There we go. And click on OK. And doesn't work particularly well, does it? So label, what can we do here? I don't want to make the labels always white. If I do match mark color, yeah, that's okay. Let's maybe make those 12 point. Right, and I'm going to put a border on these. All right, something like that. So now we've got the two things together, but does it really matter that they're both here? I don't know. All right, so let's build a dashboard. And what I'm going to do here, raised versus spent, I'm going to, so we've got our parameter. I want to maybe, what if I show the filter for the chamber? Right, so Senate. Okay, so let's show that. The party, let's go ahead and show the filter for that. So if I wanted to look at just the Democrats, okay, so that's good. And okay, right. So let's go to a new dashboard, and I'm going to float in a vertical. And if you've seen me build these before, you'll probably understand where I'm starting here. Oops, and 1,800. Okay, and I'm going to set some inner padding of about 20. All right, so from here, I'm going to put in my title. Are members of the, which Congress was this? Where is it here? Congress raising more than they spend. All right, let's maybe make that 18. Let's make it black. All right, so that's good. And now I want to have, let's see, do I want to have, I think I'm just going to keep this pretty simple. I'm going to bring in a horizontal container now. And in this container, I'm going to put I'm not going to use the hex map. I've decided that. And in the background, let's see, so here, let's float that, and then we can kill this. Remove from dashboard, delete. Oh, what happened here? Ah, okay. So we're just going to leave that there for now. And so raising, I could do, let's make that maybe bold. Actually, let's make the whole thing a slightly lighter color so that this raising can be black. And I'm going to make it like Tableau bold. Then they spend, and then spend is going to be my other color. Paste. And let's also make that bold and Tableau bold. So hopefully now, so those, my idea there is that they'll match the bars. So we can get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to take this container now and stick it in there. And I don't need that one. And if I now bring in some of my filters. So filter, nope, I need to put them on this sheet first. Okay, so chamber, party, were those on the other things? So where is it here? Show filter, member, no, not member, party. Show filter. Oh, this should be a number as well. Okay, so now that I have that, I can go ahead and bring in my filters. So the chamber, and then the filters, the party. Right. Okay. Always put a space in there because they never line up. So actually, it's 2 spaces. All right, so we got something like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a show hide button, and I'm just going to put this up here. And let's edit this button. And when okay, so image button. So when the image is shown, I want to say hide filters. When it's hidden, I want to say show filters. All right, so now let me show you what that does. So now that should collapse that container to give us a bit more room. There are other ways to do this in the new version of Tableau. I still find that way pretty simple. Let's set the layout of this one. Let's set the background to maybe some kind of gray, something like that, maybe even. Yeah, there we go. And let's set that down. That makes it go all the way to the side. And then let's set the inner padding to maybe like 10. Actually, let's undo that. I'm going to set the inner padding on each of these to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 10. Nope, don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine. I'll fix that in a second. All right, so what I need to do now is edit the height of this one. 75, something like that. Okay, that's good. So now they're all separated out nice and neat. And I'm going to put a text box in here. So filters. Center, let's maybe make that 14. Tableau medium. All right, so we get something like that. And if I put maybe 10 in this one as well. Okay, did that not do that? Okay. Let's make this one. Oops. Lots of formatting here. So 50. And I'm going to stick a line in here as well. So let's put a blank. And let's edit the height and make it 10. And the layout, I'm going to make it black. But then on the inner padding, I want to maybe set the left to 10. No, why is that not working? The right to 10. Maybe it's the outer padding. Oh, don't want to do that. I'm just trying to make the line a bit thinner. Okay, so now when I click on that, it should show and hide the filters. Okay, I like that. Let me left align this one. Left align. And then what's my padding here? So this one is 14, 14. Okay, there we go. Just trying to get it to line up nice and neat. Actually, maybe I'll leave it in the center. Okay. What else? So I'm going to clean up my header. What's going on here? Okay, so that's good. I'm going to edit the axis and get rid of the title. Oops. Yep, that's fine. And I need to put a footer in here. So my data source is, what do we call this one? Open secrets. Created by Andy Kriebel at Viz BI. I'm going to make that 8 and a light gray, so it's kind of hidden. It doesn't need to stand out too much. And okay. So I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. If there's time, can you believe we run through Makeover Monday's submission process and drop a link to this week's challenge? It's a bit confusing. Okay, so Jen, if you just go to makeovermonday.co.uk and click on this datasets button here at the top. So if you see this datasets button, just click, or that link, just click on that. Come on. And you'll see all the 20, you can pick any of the ones from the prior years, but if you just scroll down, you'll see a link to the data. And over here on the right-hand side, it has the original article. So click on that. And then you have the data and everything there. Now, as far as submission process, there really isn't one. If you want it to be reviewed, make sure you post it on Twitter with the hashtag MakeoverMonday. Eva doesn't get to all of them, but she kind of randomly picks them, so yours might get some feedback. Okay. Can the bars with the 3 measures be rounded? Okay, chamber is squashed. Chamber filter, is that squashed? Okay, let me just close this one. Don't save. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So chamber, no, my chamber filter doesn't, oh yeah, so it's not showing the other house. So thank you for that. So let's make this one 120. Okay, yeah, something like that. And this one probably as well. Edit height 120. Let's just be, oh, that's not enough. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'm going to get rid of the all option. And let's get rid of the all option here as well. Okay. Now they have actually too much space. So edit, let's see, where do I do edit height? Let's unpin that and unpin that. See, that's pretty annoying how it's cutting them off. So I'm just going to add, let me just, where the heck is it? Edit height. Let me add 20 for now. So let's make them 110. And then I'll make this one 110 as well. Edit height. Okay, but that one doesn't need to be 3. So let's edit the height to make it 100. All right, so you have to just kind of keep playing around with the sizes, which is like super annoying. Okay, anyway, that's probably good enough. Thank you for pointing that out, Stephen. Yeah, so now let's see if this works. So actually, I want a bit of room at the top of this. So let me go to this sheet. And what if I don't need any padding left or right, but I do want some top padding. So let's put maybe, let's try 20. Nope, don't want to do that. Maybe 10. Okay, so now I have a bit more room. And then this one's going to need to do the same so that they line up nice and neat. I get kind of particular about that. Okay, so now if I look at the house, just the house, so if I'm interested in house races, how much the Democrats have raised, then we get something like that. Okay. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. I will be back next week. Should be on Monday again next week. If you enjoy what you're seeing, please give this video a like. It helps other people find it. Don't forget to click on subscribe. If you think other people would find it useful, please share it. And I think that's it. And hopefully we see you on Viz Review on Wednesday and also on the Dual Access podcast on Wednesday, who I'm interviewing Elisa Fink this week. She was the VP of marketing at Tableau for a very long time and one of the kindest people I've ever met. And we're going to actually talk about how people can be more kind to each other and kind to ourselves as well. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and everybody have a great day.